Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. Great to have you along. I've got the big blue mug of coffee, 5:30 a.m., Monday, June the 9th. Hope you had a great weekend. I took the day off yesterday. I've got family here from British Columbia and Ontario, and it's so wonderful to have them here, but my, is it exhausting. I'm off to Banff and Lake Louise later today to give them a little tour of those beautiful places here in my Alberta. Today I want to talk about something that I've noticed happening, and I think the lowering of expectations is already here with this Liberal government. We went from elbows up, Canada Strong, Team Canada, energy superpower. We've got to build things to get things done in this country, and we want to be the strongest economy in the G7 to everything's just fine. What are you complaining about? And I noticed this in an interview with Vashi Kapelis and Danielle Smith on CTV. Not only that, but Danielle Smith had to explain investing to Vashi Kapelis, who I think went into this interview with good intentions, with lots of information, but she doesn't understand you have to invest in something to get something out the other end. And the other thing is that the people who voted Liberal, there's a saying. Lenin said, "Give me 4 years with the children, and the seed I have sown will never be uprooted." The Liberals have done that to adults who voted for them in 4 months. So let's watch a quick clip of Vashi Kapelis and Danielle Smith on CTV, and we'll talk about it a little bit. We went from excelling to what I'm thinking is stagnation. What are you worried about? Why are you complaining? Like 0 to 60.
According to Statistics Canada, for the fourth consecutive year, production of crude oil and equivalent projects reached a record high in 2024, up 4.3% from 2023. I do really quickly want to turn to asking you.
I just want to say we have an aspiration to double our production, and we could have been at already probably 6 to 7 to 8 million barrels a day. That's what I'm looking at. And why should we hold ourselves back when we know the world wants our products? This is the time for us to build them.
Yeah, I guess I'm just countering the idea that things are destitute or that nothing is being developed or production is extremely capped. Like, the numbers bear out a different story. They're not perhaps as high as you and other people in the province or maybe even across the country want to see, but they're not going down.
Vashi, we've got the lowest living standards in the world. Like, we're falling behind all the OECD countries in productivity growth and standard of living growth. And that's because these are the kind of projects that consistently fail and do not get built. So we can't sugarcoat that. That is a reality. If we want to be a rich country and we want to be able to keep up with our neighbors in growth, we've got to build things. We've got to dig things out of the ground. We've got to get products to market.
This is the narrative you're going to start to get. Things are just fine. Oil production is up. Vashi says it right at the beginning of that clip, 4.3%. And Carney's going to have to start pushing this narrative, and you're going to hear it a lot more. And the people who vote Liberal, who are lost, I mentioned that Lenin quote just a minute ago, are going to push this narrative as well. Because Carney's not going to build anything. Because he can't, because he needs a consensus. There's never going to be a consensus from Aboriginal groups and provinces to get oil pipelines built here. Vashi Kapelis, things are great. What are you complaining about, Madam Premier? Oil production's up year after year, 4.3%. And Danielle Smith has to bring her back around saying, but think where we could be if we have actually invested in oil and gas over the last 10 years. We want to double our production, which is beneficial to Canada. And then Danielle Smith has to go on to explain investing to Vashi Kapelis, which I don't think she understands at all. Watch this.
You made the pitch initially that it could build the roads, build the hospitals, build the schools, and now it's instead going to go to oil companies.
Well, 100% of zero is zero, Vashi. Like, if you don't end up with production and you don't end up with revenue, there's nothing to divvy up. You have to begin with production. You have to create the environment where energy companies feel like they can get product to market and they can make money at it, and then we all benefit. But at the moment, we've had a situation where we've had cancellation of pipelines. The cancellation of Energy East, of Keystone, of Northern Gateway. That would have generated 2.5 million barrels a day more of production than we have right now, which would have been $55 billion of revenue that we don't have to talk about who ends up getting what share. I don't want that situation to continue. We have to get these projects built, and then we can talk about what the relative amount is that should go to different levels of government, First Nations, the company itself. But I can tell you for certain If none of these projects get off the ground, then we'll be in the same position that we have been for the last 10 years, watching missed opportunity go by.
Do you get the feeling that Vassy Kapelas just doesn't understand how investment works, or is she pushing some type of a narrative that everything's just fine? What are you complaining about? Madam Premier, you could be spending money on social services instead of giving it to the oil and gas industry, and Danielle Smith has to go on and explain to her, Vassy, you know, if we had invested over the last 10 years in oil and gas, we'd be rich right now. Do you realize Canada spends more than $1 billion a week just servicing its debt? That's more by a long shot than we spend on our healthcare system. I don't think Vassy Kapelas realizes that the federal government just doesn't have a big stash of money they can hand out. Government only has what it takes from someone else. The someone else is you and me and Vassy Kapelas. When government gives Alberta money or writes a check like they used to do with the carbon tax, that was just returning money to its rightful owner. She doesn't understand this. You should have been spending the money on social services. Yeah, but Vassy, Vassy Kapelas is like this. She's standing in a pile of money and won't bend over to pick it up. Danielle Smith is standing in the same pile of money, trillions of dollars, saying, we need to invest. Give me $10 and I'll get that money. We can get it. But the people who believe in this kind of propaganda, right here, see this on the line all the time. Danielle Smith doesn't want you to know that the federal government provided $29.6 billion in direct subsidies and financing to the oil and gas industry in 2024. I think this is BS. I don't think those numbers are right. But even if it is, who cares? It's an investment. If we spent $30 billion last year in the oil and gas industry, money well spent, it'll come back 10 times over or even more. And then something in the first clip I played for you is getting played up online as well. How Vassy Kapelas owned Danielle Smith, how Danielle Smith is being stupid, how she said something really stupid because they've got to discredit her as well. They hate Danielle Smith. She's loved in the province. They would destroy the NDP if there were an election today. Danielle Smith would win a massive majority in Alberta. The rest of Canada hates her because she wanted diplomacy against Donald Trump, and she's handling things differently. She's the smartest politician in this country right now. But they're going after her for what she said in the interview with Vassy Kapelas. You've already heard it, and here it is again.
Vassy, we've got the lowest living standards in the world. Like we're falling behind all the OECD countries in productivity growth and standard of living growth. And that's because these are the kind of projects that consistently fail and do not get built.
CTV question period, tweeting out what Premier Smith said on how Canada has the lowest living standards in the world, how we're falling behind other OECD countries, which is absolutely true. You and I saw these graphs, a whole bunch of them during the election campaign. And I mean, we're falling behind Germany, which is an economic basket case. They had 10 times the GDP growth of Canada. It's pathetic. But the Liberal voters, Lenin, it took 4 years to plant a seed. It took the Liberals January, February, March, April to the election to plant a seed that will never be unsown in their minds about this country. Elbows up, Canada strong, Team Canada, energy superpower. It's a joke. Not going to happen. You see lots of stuff like this. Ontario, Quebec feel Albertans are loud whiners over nothing. Danielle Smith, oil production's up 4.3%. Vassy Kapelas on national television, on CTV, pushing that narrative. You're going to see a lot more of that because they've got to. Because they build up the expectations, the Liberals, and they're not going to be able to live up to them. And we knew it all along. Conservatives knew that. Then you see stuff like this. This guy, Aaron Singleton, who calls himself an Albertan Canadian. Of course, he's got the Ukraine flag there. One day we're the richest province that gives disproportionately to Confederation. The next we have the lowest living standards. Our Premier, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's a vomit emoji. They've got to discredit Premier Smith because she's the one person who's sticking up for her province. But I have hope because a lot of people followed this up, including me. Responding to Aaron Singleton. I misspelled talking, sorry. She's talking about Canada, not Alberta. Surely you know that. Surely you knew that before you voted for the people who are responsible. And they put a couple of those graphs I just put up on the screen. Other people as well. All the more reason to gain more independence from Ottawa. Glad you agree. Canada's economic growth is poor and near the bottom of the pack. Research and learn. Well, when people have to pay 70% of their earnings to be able to afford a home, and don't get me started on the price of food and basic bills in this country, I would definitely agree with her. Even South America has better standard of living than Canada. And then there's this one. Oh my God, actually listen to what she said. I'm not a big fan of Smith, but you are being deceptive in your interpretation of the words used. Stop it and be better. Expect more of this narrative. Instead of excelling, we're stagnating, but it's perfectly fine. And you're going to hear it a lot more from the media as well. I want to go to this. This guy, Concerned Canadian, who I follow on X, he lists the biggest threats to Canada. Let me run through them. Mass immigration, soaring debt, liberal government ideology, food costs, housing affordability and availability, job losses, declining GDP, decreased productivity, WEF-aligned Canada, fiscal incompetence, your list, and to which I said, you need to add people who vote for more of this. Liberal voters. The Liberal government's a threat, but the people who vote for them are even worse. All the more reason for us to leave Canada. All the more reason for us to leave Canada, meaning Alberta. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.